Hello and welcome to Big Picture. I am Vishal Dahiya and today we will talk about RBI's surplus funds. Now, the Reserve Bank of India has decided to transfer 1.76 lakh crore rupees in dividend and surplus reserve to the Government of India. This came after RBI board accepted the recommendations of Bimal Jalan Committee on transfer of excess reserve funds to the government. The total amount to be transferred by RBI to the government includes 1,23,414 crore rupees in surplus for the financial year 2018-19 and 52,637 crore rupees as excess provisions identified according to the revised Economic Capital Framework or ECF. Now, this transfer of record surplus funds from RBI is expected to boost overall revenue for the government and meet its fiscal deficit target. For more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of guests. Let me start by introducing them to you, beginning with Professor Aman Agarwal, the Director of Indian Institute of Finance. We also have with us Mr. Muhammad Halim Khan, former Secretary of Ministry of Finance. And we are also joined by Mr. Ashok Nag, former advisor of RBI from Bengaluru. Welcome, all of you gentlemen, to Rajya Sabha TV studios. Let me begin with you, Professor Agarwal, and let's put the things in perspective a little bit here. What exactly are we trying to convey when we say that this is the record surplus amount which has been transferred from RBI to the government, and the amount also looks very huge, 1.76 lakh crore rupees. So what is RBI surplus fund and why is it so much this time around?
Yes, I'm happy you raised this because you see, on an average in the last decade or so, anywhere between 40 to 60,000 crores has been given away to the government as dividends by the RBI. Now, dividends are because the government is the stakeholder in RBI, so there is naturally bound to be a dividend which is to be paid out of the earnings which the RBI makes. Now, what happens is that every year, like every company does, RBI being the regulator also calibrates as what are the expected incomes which are expected to be there. Now, the income sources are, they have reserves which we tend to amount to about $430 billion, which are kept in overseas markets, which are different central banks and all, in terms of gold, in terms of SDRs, in terms of other deposits which are kept. So, they are repatriating certain returns on those deposits as well. Then the bank also gives loan to the commercial banks within the country, whether it is private sector or public sector. They give loans to them that on a short-term basis, they take these funds to meet their capital requirement, adequacy ratios and all. So, there are some other means by which the RBI keeps earnings like this. Now, those earnings are calculated every year. Now, whatever is beyond what is the estimated earning of, and after giving the dividends, whatever fund is left with them is referred to as surplus fund. Now, in a company, normally those kind of surplus funds are kept as deposits, as reserves, and then kept for either growth or for the purpose of taking care of emergencies. Here, what Bimal Jalan report said is that we don't need, either we should keep around 5.5% of those total funds or about 6.5%.
That's the range.
That's the range. We said you can keep anywhere between them. That should be good enough for the Reserve Bank to meet any kind of emergency requirements which comes in the currency market or any other kind of emergency which needs to be met by the RBI for the banking system to be run in this country. Rest is available with them if they want to give it to the government or they want to use it for some other purposes. Now, here in this case, this time, not only apart from the 1,23,000 crore worth of dividends which they have given an additional kitty of about 52,000 crores, which has been given out as surplus funds out of that surplus kitty which was there, keeping the lower limit this time as 5.5% with them for any kind of an emergency.
Okay, so that's the reason why this figure is that much. Let's also bring in Mr. Ashok Nag here, former advisor to Reserve Bank of India, and is joining us from Bengaluru. Mr. Nag, as Professor Agarwal pointed out, we've understood as to why the amount is so much, but given the past years, the amount of dividend which has been given to the government, this is pretty high. That is one. Two, the Bimal Jalan Committee has given certain recommendations, and based on those recommendations, this decision has been taken. So, how do you see things moving from here onwards in terms of that surplus fund coming in from RBI to the government?
See, first of all, the RBI's income, there are two components of the income is there. One is that any kind of a interest rate, their fees income they're getting, but also basically the part of the income is what you call sovereign seigniorage, okay, because of the inflation tax. So RBI as the issuance monetary authority and the sovereign and the seigniorage, and obviously part of the sovereign or the part of the government. The government has every right to take that part of the tax or the income on account of that. But point is that we should not compare RBI with as if another company. Okay. Now look at this, that RBI, is it the one perception is that RBI has a very, very large kind of a reserves. Okay. Now question is that what is the adequate reserves a emerging country like India should have, particularly its central bank? It is two things are there. First of all, how do we assess the reserves? There could be, if you look at the RBI's reserves as a part of, there are two things are there. RBI has two kind of assets are held. One is the banking department, another is called the issue department. Issue department, your balance, these assets are supposed to be your balance for your issuance of the money. The other part is the banking department. The forex assets are there. Now, if you look at the Indian RBI's forex assets, these are not, because if you look at the banking department forex assets percentage of yearly import as the end of the June, RBI is 0.03%. RBI's external liabilities, if you say short-term deposit, it is the coverage is only 114%. So it is, and if you look at the entire banking system, because RBI is the lender of the last resort, and there is a data is there about the banking system of various countries. What is the net worth of the banking system, asset minus liability? In the case of the India, it is 0.52%. In the case of the UK, 6.97%, USA 12%, Ireland 8.46%, Germany 6.5%, Australia 7.2%. You see that we are much, much lower than the most of the developed countries.
Okay.
So point is this, that today we have given the 1.6 lakhs fine, no problem there. It can be also, see, there are two ways government can finance its deposits. Today it is taken reserves, or it can always have a deficit financing. RBI can give a loan, then you can monetizations. So one way it can think of this, it is a monetization of the reserves.
Okay.
Now, 1 year, one time affair is okay, but you cannot continue to the monetization reserves to really finance your fiscal deficit.
Okay.
If it is a one-time affair, but if there is people are saying that this particular fiscal deficit is more of a structural reasons rather than a one-time problem.
Okay.
If it is a one-time problem, taking out the reserves for this built up over the years, there should not be any kind of a problem. But point is that your adequacy reserves, RBI, if you look at the for adequacy reserves, the IMF has created a metric for assessing the adequacy of reserves of countries. Now, question is that Russia, it is 265% of the required reserves, forex assets. Brazil, 162%. India, 159%. So we are not very high in that percent. So point is that in a crisis, if it happens, in last few days, RBI did not participate in your forex market, the rupee is declining. Now, question is that at what level RBI would like to do that?
Okay.
We do not know.
Okay.
That point of time, do you have the ability? And our external debt is our coverage is only 114%.
Okay.
It's not very high. So whether this is a very prudential at this point of time, if it is a one-time affair, maybe it's okay, fine, to tide over a particular problem, we can do that thing. But if it becomes that I want to manage fiscal deficit only by looking at the monetizations of reserves, it cannot continue for more than 2-3 years.
Okay, let me bring in, Mr. Halim Khan here. And I'll come to you, Professor Agarwal, again as well. But Mr. Khan, you've been, the secretary in the Ministry of Finance there as well. The point which is made by Mr. Nag is that either this is a one-time effort, but if we look at the press release which has been put on, the website by Reserve Bank of India, it says that as per the recommendations of the Bimal Jalan committee. Now, all of us know that RBI's earnings will go up and down, and they've gone up and down in the, in consecutive years. This has happened. So obviously that ECF will be dependent upon what exactly finally will be RBI's earnings.
Well, you see, this fiscal deficit and this enthusiasm to reach a particular number I think it's taking its toll. Because why should it be 3%? Why it can't be 4%? Why it can't be 5%? That is the something which I think is getting disproportionate attention of the people who are managing the finances at this point of time. See, it might look good to get that sort of appreciation that you have been able to manage the fiscal deficit below a particular ballpark number. But for that, what you have created, there were a lot of bad blood. I mean, we are all aware of it. I don't think it was a very desirable way of controlling the fiscal deficit, number one. Number two, as the RBI advisor is saying, that if it's a one time, then it's okay, but if it is recurring, it is not okay. Now, I won't go into the details of that, but see the numbers. Today, the ratio was 6.8. The recommendation is of the panel is 5.5 to 6.5. And in one go, we have scrapped the bottom. We have come down to 5.5. So tomorrow, one can always say that, okay, this number can also be further brought down from 5.5 to 4.5 to 6.5.
Okay.
So the trend per se does not give, I mean, the confidence that this urge to control the fiscal deficit is based on sound financial principles.
Okay, but in a situation like this, Mr. Khan, would you agree that, this amount coming in from RBI as a surplus fund from them to the government of India does give government that maneuvering elbow room in a situation in which we are currently right now?
See, we have to understand when you say that we are borrowing, so we are increasing the fiscal deficit. And when we say that we are transferring funds from RBI, are we trying to give an impression as if the RBI money is locked into some cell? This is part of the economy. So the only thing is whether the economy takes a certain amount of money supply into its own dynamics, or the government says, okay, let the economic dynamics be controlled by me, and let me spend this money in the direction I want.
Okay.
Now, if you spend the money, since 1999, when I was Secretary Finance in Government of UP, and Mr. Bimal Jalan used to be the Governor RBI, that time he talked about the intergenerational equity. He created a group also. I don't know whether that group is alive or it is, it has reached to some conclusion. But see, these one-time transfers, if they are considered and treated like the revenue income, then there is something seriously wrong with us.
Okay.
Because then it is not sustainable.
Okay.
1 year you can get 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs from RBI, but what will happen next year?
Okay. And next year, it will depend upon what RBI's income is, as yes, everybody has been pointing out.
So that is probably also creating some sort of situation where the tax GDP ratio is not given the same amount of thinking, both in implementation as well as in theoretical discussions.
Okay.
And we get into these short-term measures.
Okay, Professor Agarwal, on these two aspects, and you wanted to pitch in earlier as well, but adding on to what both Mr. Khan and the other panelist has pointed out, this particular amount of money in this particular situation, as I was asking Mr. Khan, gives the government that much elbow room, which it requires as of now.
You see, first of all, very important to be understood. Where is this word fiscal deficit financing coming from? There is no mention here. RBI has to transfer dividends to the government, so they did one portion of that. They had extra money in their kitty, so part of that money they have parted away to the government. Okay, there is no mention as of now. That is the call of the government to take now. How do they first utilize this money? We just come to them. Part of it was their right. Part of it has been a gesture, goodwill gesture given by the RBI. Secondly, we are not parting away with our fiscal reserves, our reserves at all. Our reserves are fairly good, $430 billion for an economy of $1.27 trillion economy is fairly okay. If you look at United Kingdom, which is about $1.8, $1.29 trillion economy, their reserves only about $100 billion.
And what about the central bank's contingency funds? We are maintaining that as well?
Yes. This surplus is coming from the excess contingency which would get created of the surplus, where the Bimal Jalan report has said that we do not need to think beyond, given the current conditions, we don't need to think beyond 5.5 to 6.5.
Okay.
And that's where now they have a levy to play between the Reserve Bank, to play between as to how much would they give out of the surplus fund, which is made a little clear. Earlier it was kept at 6.8% in this country based on their own internal measures. Now they have an external committee to suggest them, firstly. Now when it comes to the purpose of elbow room, you know, last 2 weeks, even the press conference of Honorable Prime Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharamanji, you can clearly see there is no question of distributing largesse which is taking place. What she has done is brought in large number of administrative measures which were not taking place. Banks, RBI telling banks not implementing, told it should be done. GST norms to be, taxation framework to be reformed. She gave a boost to the capital, which is basically the capital adequacy ratio to be maintained by the banks. For that she has given 70,000 crores. She has not given to distribute. Then there was only measure which was given in terms of relaxing the fiscal component was for the non-banking financial sector like the ILFS and others, where they said for the housing purpose 30,000 crores should be given. So the government in the last 2 weeks, despite the fact that the Prime Minister has voiced that there is concern, the economy doesn't seem to be doing so well, and there is an attention given to the economy duly being deserved, the government has not come forth with any financial package or any kind of a fiscal stimulus structure which they have said that we want to do. An important component here is this money does give them the elbow room, but if this money is used judiciously in terms of productive growth implements like roads, highways, planes, not to just finance their NPAs or deficits, there it will yield positive returns.
Creating basic infrastructure.
Creating basic infrastructure others. But if it is going to be just financing your NPAs, financing the dip in your balance sheets of PSUs and others, then certainly it is fiscal financing. And as Mr. Khalim Khan also said, 3.3 is an unrealistic fiscal deficit figure, which in fact we have had foreign chief economic advisors in this country who actually looked at the US structure, not thinking that's a developed economy, and a developing economy with the size of India has a different requirement altogether. For us, and we have a 100 basis points gesture period between what we are in existence today and what we can go to and still be comfortable, because this government has actually brought about large number of controls over NPAs. And the kind of waivers which are being given, you will be surprised to know about 5 to 5.5 lakh crore worth of waivers used to be given every year. This government has put a stop to that and reduced it to almost 2.5 lakh crore. Now that is saving fiscal spendings, and so it has that levy now.
Okay, so it's not about fiscal financing. We also have with us Mr. Yatish Rajawat, senior journalist on the phone line. Yatish, you must have heard all the panelists out here. So in a nutshell and quickly, how do you see this huge amount of money transferred from RBI to the government, and will it give that much, boost to the government's actions as is required in the present situation?
Vishal, let me address the latter part of your question, which is that will it give boost to the economy? Because I think that is more important. The act is done and dusted, so to say. The transfer has been done as of midnight yesterday. Now, what does the government do with this money? Does it use this money to finance infrastructure? We've seen that there is a huge need to finance road companies which have not been paid for a long time. The NHAI is basically bearing is becoming so huge in terms of its liability that it's not able to even pay the concessionaries who are coming on board. So there are three areas where this money could be used. One, it could be used directly for road and railways building infrastructure. Second, it could be used for pumping into nodal agencies like NHB, SIDBI, NABARD, and even the Mudra loans. In the last few years, 8 lakh odd crores of Mudra loans have been given. Now those banks which gave out those loans, they need refinancing support. So Mudra has not been capitalized sufficiently. And because it is a small loan, it automatically leads to consumption and SME, very micro enterprises growing. So if this money is used properly, then maybe we will see or a package, a stimulus. It is directly used for a stimulus package for the 2 or 3 sectors like auto, real estate, construction that has been most suffered in the last 2-3 years, then it will have a celebrous effect.
Okay.
And if it is not used in that manner, if it is, it's used for capitalization of just the public sector bank where the transmission is not happening so
Okay.
easily, then it is a waste. Then this whole exercise is not worth the effort that has gone into it.
Okay. Yatish, what you're pointing out, again, reiterating what Professor Agarwal was saying, that, it has to be spent by the government on basic infrastructure and not for fiscal financing. Mr. Khan, does that answer, your concerns which you were raising in your first answer, that the idea should be to use this money to go ahead and give a push to the economy to spend this money in basic infrastructure?
So let me take you to a theoretical issue. You see, the present financial management as provided in the constitutional scheme of things, as per Article 266, whatever resources come, they go to the Consolidated Fund of India. They lose their nature, whether they are of recurring nature or non-recurring nature. So the result is that the utilization of funds, whether it is going into economically viable infrastructure, financially viable situations, or it is just and the returns are backloaded or front loaded. So there has been a discussion at various levels in the ministry earlier also, that let us create a sovereign fund so that all these capital funds inflows, they go there and they are invested, not expensed out like a tax receipt.
Okay.
So unless we develop this distinction between recurring income and non-recurring income and how they are deployed in the funding of the budget, I feel that it will be at the mercy of the the powers that be, whether they are conscious of expenditure management in the right spirit or not, or they are just for the they are guided more by the public demands, etc.
Okay, and that's quite a significant suggestion out there coming in from Mr. Khan. Concluding comments from you, Mr. Nag, out there in Bengaluru. In a nutshell, if you sum it up clearly, looks like that it is now the ball is in the government's court as to how the government will go ahead and spend this money, in which way, and on what specifically.
See, first of all, this money. Already, government has committed 70,000 crores around to be recapitalization of the banks. So whatever is going from the RBI, if you look at it, 70,000 crores you can deduct, it is going back to the banking sector. Okay. Now, one question has been told, RBI's finance is very well, why not government can take it from there? But see, even if you look at the corporate sector, the kind of example as a given, you have to look at the consolidated balance sheets, not a balance sheet of a only standalone part of it. RBI is a part of the banking sector, and banking sector largely owned by the government. Okay. As a consolidated balance sheet, what is the health of the banking sector? This is a point that what has been talked about. RBI's money is there, and it is not a point of RBI as a separate and government separate.
Okay.
What is the point is that surplus of the RBI, it's a borrowed reserve. We must understand that this reserve has not been built up by the surplus of the current account surplus of the country. That is a major difference. Second difference is that all these developed countries which have been talked about, the USA or things, they can borrow in their own currency. India has not ability to still now to borrow in their own currency in the international market. So if you do not have that capacity to consider that RBI is a very big fund, RBI is a very, a central banks having a very large profit is not an indication of the better health of the economy. Okay. Because its economy is maybe the opposite side of it.
Okay.
So to look at the RBI is different from the bank government. At the same time, to tell that it's a part of the government, I should take the money. It's a kind of it is a kind of contradiction in your argument.
That's not the right way to look at the things. Okay. We're running short of time, Mr. Nag. So let's have final words from Professor Agarwal here on what all needs to be done, and the suggestions like as Mr. Khan put in or Mr. Nag is pointing out, the way to look at the things from here onwards in future?
No, I think it is a positive move given the fact that the RBI is looking at the scenario in economics, what is going on, the way demands are there. And I think this fund will give that ease to the government to go about looking at judiciously going about spending. This government is very careful in terms of devising that, and this will set a trend for the RBI in the future also to look at the earnings. I think it's not a question that we have had loss making RBI. We've had a fairly good managed, well managed RBI. It has been always applauded world over, and we have had INR, actually sovereign debts which have been raised in the overseas. Indian rupee is actually a reserve currency in various countries for a large number of years, for decades now. So it is that the Indian currency enjoys that framework. I'm happy that the RBI considerately by itself actually forwarded, like a good citizen, did its own bid to actually give to the government a certain kitty of its funds, so that the government could take care of the people's need of this country, which is the dire need of today of getting the economy out of a little bit of sluggishness, or the sluggishness we are getting to see coming in.
Okay, so there it is, the why and how of Reserve Bank of India's surplus funds which have been given to the Government of India. Now, as our panelists are pointing out, the ball lies in the government's court as to how will it spend this money and on what exactly. Will it be on boosting the infrastructure, or will it be on fiscal financing? Let's wait and watch, and keep watching Rajya Sabha Television as well.